Hi, I'm Dr. Andrew Gabriel from Horizon College and Seminary and from andrewkgabriel.com. I'm here with Dr. Peter Althouse from Southeastern University. He's a theology professor there. He's also the author of Spirit of the Last Days, which is a book in Pentecostal Eschatology. He's edited a book called Pentecostal Eschatologies, and he's also the co-editor of Pneuma, which is the journal for the Society of Pentecostal Study. So he certainly has a lot of ability to speak to this question of how have Pentecostals thought about Pentecostal eschatology in current Pentecostal scholarship. So tell us a little bit about how Pentecostals historically have thought about eschatology.
There are a number of ways in which Pentecostals have historically thought about eschatology. Initially they talked about it in terms of what was called latter rain, the latter rain of the Spirit, in which the early rain was thought to be the charismatic outpouring on the day of Pentecost. The latter rain was thought to be the outpouring of the Spirit prior to Christ's return. And it was where they situated their doctrine of Spirit baptism as well as their understanding of the charismatic gifts. Somewhere in the late 1940s or 1950s, they shifted to a dispensational pattern, really a fundamentalist dispensational pattern articulated by John Nelson Darby, which divided the ages into 7 ages, and the church was kind of taken out of that pattern of prophetic predictions. Mm-hmm. So in the middle of the 20th century, Pentecostals kind of shifted towards that for reasons that had to do with its own internal issues with what was called the New Order of the Latter Rain, that was using the latter rain eschatology that Pentecostals had initially inherited or had developed against them. And
so let me pause you there. So at the beginning of the 20th century, when the Pentecostal movement really begins, they weren't all dispensational.
No, they weren't.
Right.
And dispensationalism hadn't really been worked out at that point.
Right, okay. So then you come to the 40s, 50s, and they're starting to pick up on dispensationalism.
This is the same time that they were invited to be part of the National Association of Evangelicals. So they start taking on these evangelical, more fundamentalist kinds of categories of thinking, including fundamentalist dispensationalism. Mm-hmm. And so part of it was a kind of because they moved away from their own inherent theology, and part of it was that they were invited to be part of this broader evangelical organization.
Right. So how are Pentecostal scholars reacting against the influence of dispensationalism in Pentecostal eschatology? The
fundamental problem with dispensationalism is it creates huge issues for the Pentecostal doctrine of Spirit baptism. Because the assumption is that anything that was part of the age of Israel, including the ministry of Jesus, the Sermon on the Mount, and including the day of Pentecost, does not apply to the age of the church. It's highly cessationist, meaning it's none of the charismatic gifts, Spirit baptism, healing are not part of the age of the church, because the argument they would make is we have the Bible, that's the only thing you need.
Mm-hmm. So how are Pentecostal scholars today, like yourself, what are you replacing dispensational eschatology with?
So it's much more of the sense of the already not yet of the kingdom, what is called proleptic in the Greek, or inaugural, sometimes people call it that. So the idea is that what Christ has begun, he will complete in the eschaton. And so you already see the elements of the kingdom in a glimpsed way, or in a kind of what I call a foretaste of the kingdom in the present, but you don't have the fullness of the kingdom, so we're still anticipating what is to come. So it's the already not yet. And the way that I like to explain this is when I was a kid, I loved going up to my grandparents for Christmas, because my brother and I would have to sleep on the couches because there was not enough beds, but my grandmother would get up early in the morning, about 5 o'clock or whatever, and would put the turkey in the oven, and throughout the morning you have this smell of food cooking, and you're starting to get grumbles and hungry, and so somewhere around 11 o'clock there might be some food that starts to show up on the table, so you go around and sneak some pickles or some cheese or something. Finally they take the turkey up, but you still have to wait for them to cut it up, and to it has to sit for a half hour. Who made that rule? So you kind of sneak in and try to pick a piece of turkey off, but then you sit down and have the Christmas dinner, the feast. Well, it's like the marriage supper of the Lamb, right? So we have this anticipation, this foretaste, this glimpse of that which is to come, but it's not until the eschaton, until the day of the Lord, that we sit down to the marriage supper of the Lamb and we all celebrate the work of God.
Right.
So for me, this is more conducive to Pentecostal distinctives such as spirit baptism or healing, because let's say something like healing. One of the questions that has been asked is, well, why is not everyone healed?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can still hold that their healing is provided for in the atonement, which is one of the ways in which Pentecostals will articulate that. But it's not just a memory of what is or what has happened, but it's also a foretaste of what is to come. That
Right.
there is an anticipation that our healing will come in the eschaton in terms of the resurrection of the dead. So the question then becomes, what is healing now? Well, healing is a glimpse of that which is to come.
Right.
So why are people healed? Because the kingdom is, impinging on the present. But why are people not healed? Well, because we haven't got the fullness of the kingdom yet.
Right.
And so, in the sense, everyone will die. Like anyone who's healed still gets to the point where, they will die. And so the resurrection of the dead is the answer to that question. When it comes to spirit baptism, right? So spirit baptism, like, say something like water baptism, is a look back to the inauguration of Christ's death and resurrection, but also of the outpouring of the Spirit on the day of Pentecost, right? In which people spoke in other tongues. But it's also an anticipation of that which is to come, in which we will all be glorifying God in our own voices in one accord. But the language, there's not so much a language there, but the utterances, the sounds themselves are not understood in the present. They are a sign of that which is to come, which is the glorification of God in the eschatological day.
Right. So the kingdom of God is coming, and as it comes, we're anticipating and having a foretaste of what's to come when Christ returns. Now, dispensationalism kind of gave a really good chart of this is what's going to happen, tribulation, antichrist, and millennium, and all this stuff. So what is the new blueprint of the end times with Pentecostal eschatology as it's currently being emphasized?
I don't think the Bible gives us that. The Bible doesn't give us the battle plans for the last days. It doesn't give a blueprint for what is to come. What the Bible gives us is that who we trust is Christ. Christ takes care of the other. Right? So our trust is in Christ. Our trust is not in developing some sort of, battle plan, blueprint for what is to come, but our faith and trust is in Christ himself, and he is the kingdom. He's the king of the kingdom. And so, the Bible just doesn't say so much about what that will look like.
Right.
It only says that we have our faith in the one who is the king.
Thanks so much, Peter, for your time.
You're welcome.
Okay.